Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today, I'm joined by Michael. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ben, for having me. It's going to be a great conversation. I'm excited, man.
I'm so excited. I'm already jumping the gun. I love it. So, Michael, before we dive into the subject, maybe if you could just give a 1 to 2 minute summary of your background, your passion in life, and just what you love about marketing. I think that'd be a great way to set the stage.
Absolutely. I am a storyteller at heart. If I can trace anything in my roots in my career back to that, it's storytelling. And I started out as a journalist and telling people stories through the written word at a newspaper. And now I get to do that in marketing and telling not just our company story, but amplifying, to use the name of this podcast, amplifying our customers and the success that they're having, the things that they're able to do through the software tools that we're able to provide them. So that's been consistent throughout my career I believe everyone has a story to tell, Ben. And whether that is you're talking about speaking to B2B content leaders or marketing leaders, or you're talking to, I was a sports writer, so you're talking to somebody who plays t-ball on the rec league in small town Kansas, where I was the sports editor. There's a theme there. We all love, we all connect with, we all want to hear stories, and that is what that's what drives me. So right now, I'm the director of marketing at a software company called The Receptionist. We're a visitor management system. We help check people in at facilities is the real high level way of describing what our software does, and helps calm the chaos of the front desk. But that is it. That's me at a high level. I think that was succinct enough.
I love it. That was perfect. Yeah. No, and I have definitely been on the receiving end of the software. I love that. It does kind of reduce the chaos, especially as you're getting into some of these buildings. There's a lot of good stuff there. So I love that you focused on storytelling. And the focus for today's episode is really one of the best mediums for storytelling, which is videos. So I'll be honest, a lot of times in these podcasts, we'll talk before the episode, but on this one, I was just so excited to dive in. This is as raw and organic as the conversation can get. Today, we are just geeking out about video, where video is going, how to build video, wherever the conversation may go. But just diving in, Michael, you have built teams. You've built marketing teams. How does someone get started with video? How do you even get that motion rolling? Because I think a lot of times people feel like the barrier to entry is so high.
As I say this, as I sit in a studio here that we have invested in thousands and thousands of dollars. So I say this at a place where it took us a while to get to this space, to get to, if you're watching this, to get to the fact that I've got 3 different lighting sources, that I've got a real high quality mic and a soundboard, that I'm watching through a teleprompter right here in front of me in a really high dollar camera. I understand that can be daunting and overwhelming. And it is if that's what you immediately jump into and you don't have any help. What I will say is, I think it first starts with a mindset. You got to want to be on camera. You got to want to be or at least find someone in your company, in your organization, who is willing to do that, who is willing to stretch themselves, who's willing to put their face out there. That can be a very daunting thing for a lot of people. Now, I also believe that everyone can get there. It just happens to depend on what you're talking about. What are you in front of a camera to do and speak to and talk about? We do live demos here at The Receptionist, and our sales director, Tom, and I, we dress up in costumes and we make absolute fools of ourselves. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go to that extreme. If you are somebody comfortable in front of a camera, or are willing to get comfortable, and you are constantly focused on who is the person on the other end watching this, and what questions do they have? What value can I bring to them? And it's the value conversation that we as marketers have all the time. That's nothing new. But as long as you can keep them in mind, and how you want to position your product, your service, whatever you happen to be selling to them, in a way that makes them the hero of the story, then I think you can get started with video and not have it be some huge, big production. as awkward as I think it is for a lot of people, holding up your camera in front of your face, or at least buying a $20 tripod and setting it in front of you in a nice quiet space, you can get started with video. It's really that simple. And it doesn't have to be long form video. We were talking before we hit record about the importance of short form and how we think that is coming along in the B2B space. If you're saying something valuable in 20 seconds, great. Put it on video, get it out there.
100%. And I think that you hit on so many good points, because I think the first initial response when people are like, oh, well, we got to do video is, the studio and the high quality camera and the lighting. But really, I think the number one hurdle is finding someone in the business that's willing to be in front of the camera. And honestly, if you have something to say, it's perfectly okay to be in front of the camera. Having done this podcast and other podcasts, I can say at first it's uncomfortable, but then it gets much easier. And it's just the repetition. If you just put in the reps, even if you're just in the business and say, hey, I'm going to film 100 short videos on my iPhone just to and I'm going to throw them all away. Every one of them, I'm going to click the delete button. By the time you get to 100, you're going to feel way more comfortable being filmed and say, okay, cool. Maybe some of these are actually worth it and you can move on.
The mindset shift there that I would advocate people start to think about is think of yourself less as a performer and more like a storyteller, to go back what I talked about earlier. When I coach, I'm a TEDx coach as well, speaker coach. And so one of the things that we often coach people through is this feeling that when they're on stage, or in this case, when they're in front of a camera, that they are a performer reciting lines or an actor on a stage. And that's not the case at all, because that will bring in judgment. Because when people get uncomfortable in front of a camera or on stage, they're afraid of judgment in a lot of ways. That's probably the primary or the underlying fear there, or feeling of awkwardness. Well, if you consider yourself to be an actor or a performer, it's because you think that the audience is judging you on the quality of the delivery, the quality of the performance that you're giving. If you go to your favorite movie, let's say one of my favorite movies is To Kill a Mockingbird. If I go to the play To Kill a Mockingbird, I'm judging the actors on their ability. Are they going to be the same Atticus Finch as the one in the movie with Gregory Peck? Gregory Peck is my version of Atticus Finch, right? I'm judging everything based on his performance. When you're in front of a camera, when you're on stage, you're not a performer, you're not an actor. Nobody knows your lines. Nobody's judging you against some other version of yourself. So be a storyteller. Tell your story in the way that only you can. And when you can shift that mindset from acting and performing to storytelling and just what good communication is, Ben, we can begin to overcome some of those feelings of awkwardness.
I love it. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So the world is shifting, right? Our attention spans are going down. We consume more video content than ever before, and it's shorter. So I want to dive into short form video. So what are your thoughts on the future of short form video? Do you think it has a place in B2B? Is it purely B2C? How do businesses invest in it? What are your thoughts? Like, how do I dive into short form video? Is it the right approach even?
Well, I'll say it's one of our major focuses here at The Receptionist in 2024. We're really going to dive headfirst into a lot of short form content. A lot of it is we're taking past or old content and cutting it down, repurposing it, that whole spiel that we hear constantly in the marketing world of repurpose your content.
Yep.
But we're also thinking of ways to generate just some organic video built specifically for short form. And we're focusing on shorts and reels. We're not on TikTok yet here at The Receptionist. And I do say yet, that could be coming. I don't have a preference one way or the other. My view of it is the buyer on the other side is a human being too.
100%.
Whether you're a B2B or a B2C company, you're still speaking to a human on the other end. They have the same attention spans. Now, I will say our attention spans are really short for crappy content. If you have great content and it lasts 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, people are going to watch. It's got to be the quality and the investment and the time to make it quality that you need to be focused on. Not just, hey, let's throw out a bunch of random 20-second crappy TikToks. Like, that's not the point here. That's not going to generate you anything other than wasting a lot of time generating 20 crappy TikToks. But if you can invest the time in producing stuff that is of value, stuff that brings a unique perspective or an awareness, and do it in a short, clipped way, you can make a difference there. You can speak to a buyer. It may not be everyone who sees it. You may go, quote unquote, viral on YouTube Shorts or on Instagram Reels, getting 50,000 views on a reel. Probably not all of them are going to be your buyer, but some of them might be. And that's okay, because the amount of time that you spend creating one crappy TikTok to 20 people is the same amount of time that you're going to create one TikTok to 50,000 people. And it's just about the content that you're putting in there.
I love that. Yeah, I think that that's so true. Like the ability to really tell stories, and the short format is really thriving, but you're right, the quality is high. And it's not like, we're not talking camera quality. We're not talking light quality. We're talking about the story and the quality of the content. One thing I was talking to my wife about the other day was, hey, if you had a case study and you like had to read this for work, would you rather someone just like quickly gave you 3 videos giving the highlights?
Yeah.
Would you rather read a really long case study? And the truth is, like you said, people are still people. These people go to work and then they go home and watch TikTok, or they're on YouTube Shorts, or they're doing things like that. And I think that often in B2B, we approach content like we're talking to a business, but it's really, we're talking to the person. And I think it's something worth testing. If you've got a really good case study, put someone in a camera and have them in an entertaining and good storytelling way. Say that case study, A/B test the crap out of it, and see which one gets you more value. And I'm curious to see the results.
I am here to say I'm not the smartest person on this. I'm still learning. We are still learning here at The Receptionist and my team. There are plenty of people out there who can teach you the value of a good hook. Understanding that our focus on these platforms is different. We are very quickly scrolling through content. So the value of a good hook is important. I understand that. And we're still working through that. What is a good hook? What will capture people's attention in those first few seconds? That is important. Absolutely. I don't want to discount that. The importance of keeping the content moving throughout, that's important. I understand that too. But at the end of the day, if you are just rapidly going through stuff and it doesn't mean anything, what's the point? There's a place for all of it. It's just a matter of the investment and the time to learn it and make it grow and iterate on it.
So in your career and everything you've seen, let's say there's someone listening to this and they're like, you know what? We need more video. How would you recommend they get buy-in from people in the business to say, yeah, like, let's put a little bit of money, let's put some effort here? How have you seen it in your past to go get the buy-in? What would you recommend that they actually go and do to start, looking at videos of feasible channel for them?
I think you did a great thing earlier when you were talking about that case study with your wife. You asked a question, how would you consume this content? And so I love asking questions, and that is going to the people who perhaps hold the money or hold the decision-making authority and saying, well, how would you consume this content? When was the last time you read a case study or a white paper? When was the last time you downloaded an ebook? Okay, great. When was the last time you scrolled on Instagram for 20 minutes and you looked up and realized you didn't know where you were? Like, when was the last time you listened to a podcast? When was the last time you watched a YouTube video? When was the last time you watched a YouTube short? I mean, just all these things, if we can make people aware of their own behaviors, then we can begin to build the case for, we want to try it. We want to test it. It's not that we have to go back what I said earlier, it's not that we have to invest tens of thousands of dollars in a studio to try this one thing that we want to do. We can begin with perhaps repurposing webinar content, something really interesting that a guest said on a webinar, or that our CEO said on a webinar, and trying that out and cutting that up to be real short and clippy. We can take podcast video, for instance, if we have one, and begin to repurpose those clips. We can just start trying things, not committing to it fully, where we're building out an entire studio and taking up an office in our space. That's the point. I've been here at The Receptionist for 6.5 years. We're still building out this space. We're still iterating and working through what video looks like for us. But that's the beauty of it. we're much better along now than we were, 4 years ago. And it's paid off for us.
I love it. Perfect. As promised, the podcast goes by quickly.
Yeah.
We've got through some good stuff. I think we're going to have to do a couple more series of this, but Michael, thank you so much for your insights. They are golden. I think that video's got a big role to play. But if anyone wants to connect, reach out and connect online, how can they get a hold of you?
So our website is thereceptionist.com, and all my contact information is there on the team page. You can actually go and scroll over my photo and see funny pictures of all the team, or me and the team. So you can reach out there. I'm on LinkedIn, of course. Just look up Michael Ashford, and I'll be there. And then my personal website is michaelashford.com if you're interested in any of that stuff. So
love it, and we'll link to all of that in our show notes. Again, Michael, thanks for the time, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.